Well, hello to all of you, and welcome to the second webinar of our series in October. Wonderful to have so many of you online again from all over the world. We'd love you to let us know, where in the world are you? You know, at the end of the day, it's always fascinating for us. We've got people now in 133 countries, and just yesterday we had a client invest from Bulgaria. It always amazes me where these people find out about us or hear about us, which is just amazing. Tonight we're going to be running through how you can immigrate overseas, either financially and or physically. And we really want to, and we've got a really exciting webinar series that we're putting together, and tonight is we've got some great experts that we look forward to sharing with you. I know that Gavin is already online, so Gavin, it's wonderful to have you online, and you've been helping people for a long time invest into America, so thank you, and wonderful to have you online with all our participants.
Thanks, Scott.
We've also got Lee. Sorry, after you, Gavin.
After you, Scott, you can carry on. Not a problem.
No problem. We're going to do a proper introduction just now for you. We've also got Lee, that is the brains behind the whole operation. And Lee, it's very nice to have you online. And I know that Lee is actually moving at the moment in Dubai, and so is currently sitting in a hotel lobby in somewhere in Dubai at the moment. So thank you, Lee, for being online as well. I don't know if you can hear us, because I know that you're trying to get help Jenny connect.
Yeah, hi guys, it's great to be on you. Sorry about the background noise, but we're doing the best that we can. So I'm coming to you live from Dubai, and next week I'll be joining you from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, but it's great to have you online. And really look forward to hearing from our experts on how we can immigrate both financially and physically, and also just be a global citizen if you just want to stay where you are currently in the world and just partake as being a global citizen. So welcome everybody.
Excellent. So let's rock and roll. Let's get right into it. We always try and start on time. We're going to talk a lot, and we have been talking a lot about Wealth 5.0. You know, at the end of the day, we are literally 2.5 months away from the end of this decade. We are fast approaching the next decade. And many people believe that this decade will be one of the most defining decades in the history of our planet. Now, that's a pretty momentous statement. And more importantly, how important is this decade going to be for you? Whether you're 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, 50, 60, 60 plus. What an impact is this decade going to be for you? And what do you know about Wealth 5.0 and how it all fits together? We're going to spend a lot of time on, discussing this at the breakfast, where we'll go into this in a lot more detail. But there's a concept that was started by the Japanese called Society 5.0. There is Entrepreneurship 5.0, and there's Wealth 5.0. And really, Wealth 5.0 is broken down into 5 different areas. You've got the impact, which is around your purpose and your sustainability. You've got your creativity and your ability to create value through your ideas. You've got your high touch, which is your collaborative smart investing and working with others. 1 + 1 equaling 3 and or 11. You've got your high tech, which is where you're starting to use technology to really get good gains. And then finally, you've got the whole digital component, the digital layer, which is all around problem solving your problems and future proofing. In terms of this October series, last week we ran through the 5 secrets to offshore real estate investment. Now, if you go to that website link, bit.ly/wealth5-webinar. You can actually go to that page, and if I show you here quickly, I'll just go to that page for you quickly. I think this is it. No, this is it here. And you can basically go in, you can actually see that webinar, and you can actually get the recording. So for that webinar, if you missed it, there is a recording. And in that webinar, I basically ran through where the world's top real estate investors get their research and their information. Also, how to choose the best partners. We're going to be learning from partners tonight. How do you choose those partners? How do you build a passive income from commercial global real estate? Why offshore financing works, how you can use OPM or other people's mortgages, and how you can easily find the best team around the world in terms of investing. So if you missed that webinar, there is a recording, and you can go and get that recording from the link. Tonight, we're going to be running through how you can immigrate overseas, both financially and physically. We're going to be looking at how you can get a first world passport. We're going to hear real life success stories and how you too can achieve it. We're going to hear from some of the best immigration people. I've been in this game now for 15 years, These are people that I've worked alongside for more than a decade, and I can, really give testament to what they actually say and what they deliver on. We're going to talk about what it takes to financially immigrate, whether you want to do it financially or physically. And we're also going to talk about what it means to be a global citizen. Then next week, we're going to be interviewing a very special lady. She's one of the most successful business ladies in South Africa. She's won numerous awards in South Africa, Africa, and globally. She built her business and sold it for 9 figures. She's invested in global real estate. She's invested in global exponential technology. She's actually immigrated herself and is now living in Austin, Texas. And she's going to be sharing with her some of the tricks and trends that she's learned. She's going to be sharing with you what she sees in terms of where the next decade's going. And also what's really interesting is that they always say, if you want to be successful, copy a successful person. And, tonight we're talking about immigration. Here's someone that has physically actually done it for her and her family. And then finally, we're going to finish off at the end of October, the 29th of October, with how you can create and preserve your wealth offshore. And this is where we're going to look at everything from tax to structuring and how to future-proof yourself for 2020. There's a lot of talk about how there's going to be economic changes around the world. And in this one, we're going to be interviewing a gentleman that runs a family office. He's basically a wealth advisor to some of the wealthiest people in South Africa and America. He's going to be talking about diversification and building a balanced portfolio, how structuring and tax works, what is the future of emerging economies like South Africa, the future of the world economy and where the opportunities and the risks lie, and 2020 and beyond, and what you can ultimately do to ensure that you've got success. For me, if you're getting value out of this webinar series, my request is that you please share it with your family and friend. A lot of South Africans and people around the world are very anxious at the moment. They're nervous and they're looking for opportunities. They're looking for solutions, and we're trying to provide it for everyone in terms of this. Then I'll talk about this later at the end once we've finished, but I'll talk about our offshore investor breakfasts. We've got them around the country. Durban on the 12th of November, Cape Town on the 13th of November, Johannesburg on the 14th of November, and Pretoria on the 15th of November, where we'll be talking all about investing offshore, going a lot deeper and actually bringing our partners so that people can actually meet our partners and get a better understanding of who the partners are. And I'll talk about that once our partners are finished today. And then for our wealth weekend, every single year, once a year, we do a wealth weekend. It's where we take away our wealth partners who are our shareholders and our VIP guests. And ultimately, we will be running the wealth weekend from the 15th to the 17th of November. Again, I'll go into more detail about this afterwards, but we're going to be running a wealth masterclass, which is just incredible in terms of the level of knowledge and value that people will get in preparing themselves for 2020. So whether you want to immigrate physically or financially, or whether you just want to be a global citizen, no matter where you want to live, this is something that will help you not only survive going into the next decade, but thrive. And it's not from, it's from people that have already been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. So let's move on into tonight's webinar, and that is how you can immigrate overseas financially and physically. Now, I did the webinar last week where I shared all about our why and why we do what we do and how the company works and how the platform works and everything else. I'm not going to repeat that. If you missed last night's webinar or last week's webinar, sorry, and you haven't been on previous webinars and this is your first webinar, then please go online and let's get a bit of interaction quickly. I'm going to ask quickly to do a poll, which is pretty much what is your interaction that you've had with Wealth Migrate before. Just interesting for me to know. But if you don't know who we are or you don't know why we do what we do and our massive purpose intent, then please go and watch the webinar from last week. What I want to do for this webinar is I still want to talk about the why. I think it's very important that you get clear. Why are you here? Why is immigration important to you? Whether you want to immigrate financially or physically, why is it important for you? Because once you get clear on the why, then you're going to be able to figure out the how and the what. Now tonight, I wanted to start off with a little story which explains my why. And some of you have heard it, some of you haven't heard it. And then this webinar is about the how and the what. We're then going to go to our partners and they're going to be talking to you about the how and the what in the different countries in terms of what we're actually doing and how we're actually doing it. So let's close off that poll and let's get into the story. So there's two stories, and some of you have heard of the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Well, I've got a very similar story. I've got my father, and this is a picture of me and my dad. I was 13 years old. My dad did what you were all taught to do. The only difference is, some of you have heard the story, but if I go further back, my father actually left Zimbabwe in 1976. He was very, he was a farmer, and we were kicked off our farms, and he reacted. He piled everything in a car, and he drove to Durban. And what was interesting is that he arrived in Durban with whatever he could fit in the car, and he had to leave everything, generations worth of farming and everything behind in Zimbabwe. And unfortunately for my father, is he followed what we've all been taught to do. He worked really hard. He went to university. He became a chartered accountant. He became financial director of a listed company in this, for South Africans, they'll know what rainbow chickens are. He invested, he paid his taxes. And yet on the 1st of August, 2005, my father actually died broke. And for me, it's a classic example of someone that lives in a reactionary state and trusts the financial industry. Now, a very different story was my uncle, and also grew up in Zimbabwe, but he decided not to leave Zimbabwe. And yet in 1980, at the age of 30, he started investing overseas. He started investing in first world assets for the first world income. And at the age of 53, in 2003, he decided it was time to move to Australia, which is exactly what we're talking about tonight. So he not only financially moved in 1980, but he physically moved in 2003. Now, if you do or don't know, to get into Australia at the age of 53 is really hard, but my uncle bought his way into Australia. He bought a house for cash. He put his kid through a private school, and that kid at the moment is actually getting scholarships to go rowing and ultimately to go to these top universities. And the one that I always believe is very important is that my uncle never actually had to work for an Australian. I believe this is really critically important. You don't want to spend your whole life working to ultimately go backwards. So what is this webinar all about? Well, ultimately, it's about freedom of choice. We want our partners tonight to give you the insights so that you have the freedom of choice to make the right decisions for yourself. We want you to have peace of mind. We want you to be able to preserve your wealth. And ultimately, probably tonight, the most important one is about having a plan B. Now, I'm very lucky, I'm very privileged. I have an Irish passport, I have a British passport. And so for me, it's, I choose to live here, to be a global citizen, to invest overseas. But I know for people to get an overseas passport, to get a first world passport, to have a plan B is critically important, which is what tonight's webinar is all about. And so, the question for you is, why are you here? Now, there's a little chat box up the top, and I want to read these out. Oh, my word. No one let me know I haven't been sharing my slides. Oh, my word. Anyway, well, you all heard the story without the slides. And anyway, so what we want to do quickly with the dashboard is I'd like all of you to just let me know, why are you here? What is interesting for you? I can see we've got people from South Africa, Zimbabwe, Auckland, New Zealand. Thank you, Gavin, for letting me know the slides aren't going. Is there a link to last webinar? Yes, please, team, if we could post the link to the last webinar, I'd appreciate that. John, you can't see the pictures and web addresses. I apologize. I will go back actually just very quickly for everyone. Sorry, my mistake. I was gaily showing you all my slides. So this was the Wealth 5.0, and that was the link that everyone wanted, just so that you've got the link there. You can see the link is up on the screen. And I'm not going to go through all the other slides because I don't want to take up the time of the different presenters, but this is pretty much what I went through in terms of a picture of my dad and just pictures of my uncle, etc. It's really just a story, so it's not a major issue. So the question is, why are you here? And let's see, I want to immigrate physically and financially, already started investing abroad, consider immigrating. I want to learn more about investing all over the world, to get more information, tips on the processes for a global citizen, want to know how to best apply my hard-earned money globally and make it count for me. Fantastic. Okay, I want to immigrate overseas. I'm looking for which is the best country to immigrate. So great, let's rock and roll. So just before I hand to my partners, one of the things that I've found, having done this for 15 years now, I started in 2004 helping people invest. I started investing in 1999, so I've actually been doing it 20 years. But what I find is that most people believe that it's not possible. Most people believe that it's good for other people, or they've got lots of money and they can do it. So I wanted to start with real people, real stories. And so this was a story of Ryan Boyta. I met Ryan in 2009. He came in my office. So Ryan is the guy on the right. Dieter's his brother. He was actually a lawyer out of Johannesburg. He came to me in 2009 and said, Scott, I want to immigrate to Australia. I want to buy houses. I want to buy 10 houses so that I can immigrate to Australia and I can set myself up with passive income. I want to buy investment properties. And when I move to Australia, I will sell some of the investment properties and I'll buy a house and then I'll be set up, you know, to be able to do it. And I tell you, it's with a huge amount of, with gratitude actually, that Ryan got hold of me in 2015 probably and said, Scott, I'm leaving. Thank you for setting me up. I'm moving to the Gold Coast in Australia. And he pretty much implemented his plan. We helped him buy 10 properties. This was him and his brother outside one of his houses in Brisbane. I can't remember if this was Brisbane or Melbourne because he bought in both. And as he did, he sold off some of the investment property. He bought a house on the Gold Coast and is very comfortably now set up in Australia. Another story was Rolene and Ian Powell. A bit of a different story. They actually bought houses from us in America. So their logic was they wanted to move to Australia, but they believed they could get a better return on their money in America. So they bought 4 houses from us in America, and they then immigrated to Australia. And these properties pretty much helped them become a global citizen and ultimately helped them get set up. Ironically, they're also on the Gold Coast in Australia and are now living very comfortably in Australia. And I think over time, they actually sold off their American properties once they got established in Australia. And then the lady that I was mentioning earlier that has won so many business awards, you know, we met her in 2013, I would say probably, and a very successful business lady. We started helping her invest around the world, and ultimately, you know, very successful South African business lady, but ultimately, you know, growing into a global citizen. She invested in a global portfolio. She's invested in global businesses. And then actually through one of our partners tonight, who's going to share with you how to do it, she invested with Gavin in them, and they helped her get an EB5 passport in America. And about a year ago, she actually immigrated to America in terms of, you know, and is now living in Austin, Texas, and is one of our board members. And then the other one, the other story that I wanted to mention was Martin. He's a successful business owner, also out of Johannesburg. It's quite a funny story, actually. Many years ago, Gavin and Stuart worked together, and Stuart and I were doing a webinar on EB5s, and Martin was actually listening to us on the way home in his car. He jumped on the phone straight to Stuart. I don't know, Gavin, if you know the story, but the next day met up and actually started with his EB5 program, and equally in the last year and a half has now immigrated to America and is living out of New York. And so we've got real people with real stories that have actually done this. I'm sure Jenny is going to share with us some stories as well around people that have actually done it and moved not only to Cyprus, but with regards to the European passport. And I just brought up a few tonight because I wanted to show people that there are real life, real people that are doing what we are going to talk about. So whether you're interested in America, England, Europe, how beautiful is this picture of Cyprus? I found this online today and I thought, wow, that is really an awesome image of a European city. Or Australia, you know, that's what tonight is all about in terms of actually understanding. And so it's without further ado that I wanted to hand to Gavin, and he's going to talk about the EB5 and the American dream, and ultimately how you can invest into America. Now, I want to be very clear here. There are plenty of programs around the world where you can invest and get a passport. I think you need to be very, very careful in terms of what you do. As I said to you, I've been doing this for 15 years, and it's with a huge amount of due diligence that we've worked with our partners. And like I said to you, we've been in the same space for more than 10 years. And so I know that what these teams and what these partners are offering actually work, and that when they help people, they actually can immigrate, they do get the passports, and ultimately they can live up, you know, to what they're looking for. And so without further ado, if you're ready, Gavin, I want to hand over to you. Let me just share my screen with you. And where's Gavin gone? There Gavin is. So we've got Gavin Fulyun. And what I'm looking forward to is if Gavin can, you know, just take us through, you know, who they are, what they do, how people can, invest into America, and yeah, what is your story? At the end of the day, we all want to be global citizens, and different people want to move to different reasons, different countries for different reasons. Over to you, Gavin.
Perfect. Thanks, Scott. My apologies that Stuart isn't here with me. It's actually his 50th birthday that he's celebrating today. So just presenting on behalf of him. Just background about myself, I joined Stuart and Rob Newman last year, October, so going on a year now. And we've actually helped over 80 clients this year. So, as Scott mentioned, we did help Hilda Lunderstadt and Martin Freeman. Martin Freeman, we actually filed his whole case in a day. So that was just one success story that Stuart and Robert told me about. So just to get a background about EB5. So EB5 was built in 1990 to promote foreign funding and economic growth in the US. At this time, it was obviously $1 million, but because there weren't that many investors coming into investing in the EB5 during that time, they decreased it to $500,000. So during that, there's a direct and indirect investment. The direct is obviously going into your own project, and that's $1 million. The indirect route is through the EB5 program, which is $500,000, and that goes into affiliated developments that we have in our state. Those developments that we offer have obviously been pre-vetted by the government to offer EB5 and allow funding in the projects. Just an update, coming up to the 21st of November, the project the investment threshold is increasing to $900,000. So should clients want to...
Sorry, Gavin, just to jump in there, having been in the space a long time with you, I know we've heard that as a maybe, I must have, the number of years I've known you, certainly for the last 5 years, it was going to happen sort of every year. It might go up, it might go up. It's now been officially mandated. It is going up. It's not a debate. It's officially happening. So if you invest before and tell me if I'm getting this wrong, but if you invest before the 21st of November, it's $500,000. If you invest on the 22nd of November, it's $900,000.
Correct. So talking about that, Scott, in terms of your case, should your case be filed before the 21st of November? And by the meaning of being filed, I mean the projects receive all their funds, immigration attorneys receive all their funds, and the immigration attorneys receive all the supporting documentation around your case. Then you can obviously file your case. So should you want to act on the EB5, it's obviously important to act before the 21st of November. There is in the EB5 program. So the benefits of it, obviously it's a $500,000 investment currently. There's no English exam requirement. There's no education requirements. There's no age restrictions against you. The only two requirements that there are as an investor is that you must be of a good standing, so you mustn't be a hardened criminal. And number two is your source of funds must come from a legitimate source. So those are the only two requirements for EB5. We obviously do our due diligence around the investor, as that is obviously an important aspect. So in order to go with the EB5, you invest through an EB5 project, which obviously we offer. In that, it creates 10 jobs for a US citizen. After 5 years, your capital is paid back, and you get access to a green card access to a passport after 5 years. It takes 18 to 20 months to get approved for your green card, and once you've been approved for your green card, then you can either move to the States or you can come back for family. So we obviously sit down with you and discuss your timeline. So the benefits of holding a green card. Obviously, the lifestyle, you have all the benefits and rights as that of a US citizen. College and tuition fees are the exact same as a US citizen, so you're not paying international fees. You're allowed to work in the US without needing an employer to sponsor you. And you can live in any of the 50 states in the US. By investing in the projects that we offer, it's not dependent on where you invest in terms of where you want to live. So that's another important aspect. you have ease of access anywhere. This is the process timeline, just touching base on that. So to invest and file your application with the USCIS, obviously the immigration attorney will be acting on your behalf to submit your case. He's collected all the supporting documentation, and obviously we've received the source of funds. And by means of we, I mean the regional center and the project. None of the funds touch our account. The consular processing, so obviously to get approved, it takes 18 to 20 months. To get your date for the consular process, it takes another 2 to 4 months. And that's just going to the US Embassy for your interview. From that point, you'll hand in your passports to the family unit. Within a couple of days later, you'll get your temporary immigrant status in your visa, in your passport. From that point, you have 6 months to enter the United States. And that's just simply an entry. Should you want to just use it as a plan B, you're welcome to return back to South Africa. And from this point, we can make application for re-entry permit. What a re-entry permit does is it negates you from going to the US for periods up to 2 years. So it's not dependent on you flying there every 6 months to hold your green card. Now your green card is on condition for 2 years because your funds must remain in the project for another 2 years, so 5 years in total. Once the 2 years have come up, then we lift your conditions and you have a permanent green card. Your permanent green card is valid for 10 years, and it's valid for 10 years is because you've got to keep renewing it every 10 years. It's like a driver's license. So you always have it. Once you've accumulated 2.5 years in the United States, you can apply for your US citizenship. And obviously you're allowed dual citizenship. So you can have your US passport and your South African. So this is just an overall overview of our projects that we have done and Stuart's done in the past. Hilda Lunderstadt actually invested in Hollywood Circle. This was 397 residential units, 104 hotel units, and it was 71,891 square meters of retail office space. So it's based in Florida, in Hollywood Circle, and right opposite this project that is fully subscribed, up and running, is Block 40. Block 40 has already commenced with construction. As I said, it's located directly opposite. It's relatively smaller, 166 residential units, 103 hotel units, and about 9,000 square meters of retail office space. The next projects that we have done, we finished this one last year, Kansas City Club Hotel. It was just a simple refurbishment, so there was no developmental timeline risks, should there be any. Obviously, this was fully subscribed. The next projects that we are currently dealing with is Arlington Downs Residential Phase 2. This has got limited availability left. It only required about 54 investors, which we have tapped this year. So, you know, we always, should a referral come into play that from a client that's already invested in the project, we can obviously put them in this project as well. This project is located in Chicago, in Arlington Heights. It's close to the race course in Arlington and Metro train station. So it's a relatively small development. It's only just short of $1 million. So we only required about 54 investors. And in terms of the capital stack, in terms of funding, I'll elaborate on that a bit later. So talking about the capital stack on that project, just short of $1 million in 95. The EB5 funding, only $27 million required, so 54 investors, and the number of jobs created is 732.5. So working out to about 13.2 jobs per investor. So that's a very important aspect because it creates a buffer for the jobs created per investor, as you're required 10 jobs. The senior loan, which is we know as a spring bank, is $55 million, and that's a 50, and they're providing funding 57.5%. So you can see that they're the majority funder, and the sponsor equity, which funding about $13 million. Our sponsor equity is TA Ventures. This is just the outline and summary of who our directors are in terms of our developers. Tom Scott, the company was founded in 2004 and has grown the firm to 495 employees, and it has over about $7.8 billion in their fund. So they're a relatively big development company in the United States and in Chicago. They are actually backed by Goldman Sachs. So that just shows that there's a lot of due diligence around them and that they are good, reputable developers. So their main sector focus is on student living, residential, senior living, and international office and industrial space. But obviously, most of their projects are relatively small, so that's obviously always helps with the development. In terms of the project, it only takes about 2 years to develop them, but your funds must remain in the project for 5 due to the administration. So that's just a recap about us, Scott, and who we are and our projects that we have done. If there are any further questions towards the end of our presentation, I'll gladly take any and answer them.
Perfect. So thank you very much, Gavin. So just to clarify, what we're going to do is I'd like to just run through the different opportunities, and then we can come back to if there's Q&A and questions. The sound wasn't 100% coming through clearly there, Gavin. So I just want to repeat for everyone a couple of the key points that I think are relevant.
Yep.
One is that you have partners on the ground, and ironically, one of your partners has 2 South Africans and 2 Americans. They've been in business from the early 2000s, doing developments in America. They're they've got a large track record in terms of what they're doing. And effectively, you put the $500,000 into the development, and by doing the development, it creates jobs, and by creating jobs, you get an EB5. And once you submit it and go through the process with your team, and your team specializes in that, then effectively it takes about 18 months to actually get the EB5, and then that allows you and your family, as I understand it from the many presentations I've sat, I'm sure Jenny can probably do this as well, with Stuart, is that you're allowed to take your whole family, anyone under the age of 21, if I remember rightly.
Correct. So that will obviously, as an investor, will be yourself, your spouse, and your children, so your dependents under the age of 21. Should they fall over the age of 21, then that will be a separate investment for them.
Okay, great. So perfect. So what I want to do now, so awesome, Gavin, thank you very much. What I want to do now is pivot across to Jenny, and let me actually just bring up my slide quickly, and then I'm going to pivot across to Jenny, basically. So the person that I want to introduce now is Jenny, and hopefully we can hear Jenny loud and clear. So let me show my screen quickly, and because I know she was just struggling to connect. Again, very similar to Gavin and the team, at American Dream. Jenny and I have shared stages together for probably a decade, and obviously, in terms of people that want to invest in Europe, this is someone that is really specialized in terms of knowing her market and really knowing people. And I know many people that have actually been on buyers, what do you call them, investment trips or buyers trips over there with you, Jenny, and you're actually living in Cyprus, if I remember rightly.
That's it. Scott, can you hear me? Am I loud and clear?
You are loud and clear. Perfect. So, Jenny, what I want to do quickly, if you don't mind, is can I share to your screen?
Yep, that's it. Please do so.
Okay.
We're up and running.
Yep. 2 seconds. It'll come up with a little button now that just says share your screen.
Yep. Okay, great. We're up and running.
So just while that screen's coming up, I think one of the things that's really important, and what we're trying to do tonight, is to show people the different varieties and the different regions, but obviously the major regions people want to go to. Jenny, we're seeing your screen. It's saying it's your PDFs basically. So it's SA. Yeah, there are.
There, close that off.
Okay, we got you. Cyprus up close.
Okay, great. Yeah, you should be seeing my slideshow now.
Yeah, we got you. Cyprus up close. Yeah, the line is not great. Let's try it. We'll try our best. It's not coming through hugely clearly, but let's give it a go.
Fantastic. So Cyprus has got a slightly different option for investors, is that like a lot of the European countries, Cyprus's residency and citizenship programs are largely based on owning real estate. And in Cyprus, there are a number of plans that you can have a look at. And not only are those for the exceptionally well-heeled who are wanting to invest to get their second citizenship, but the nice thing is that they have a residency program that allows those guys that are wanting to start off, and even people who are wanting to buy property together, to be able to secure residency. So on your Plan B options, looking at Cyprus, the first one is to be able to secure permanent residency. And their fast track program has recently been voted, and it's not just by a biased person like myself, but by the European Union. Their fast track program is voted as the best one available in Europe. The main reason for this is that because not only do both parents as well as the in-laws qualify, but it's all dependent children up to the age of 25. So and potentially wanting to leave South Africa for whatever reason, because they have invested in property on the fast track program, they'll be able to, as a whole family, which means mum, dad, mum-in-law, dad-in-law, and all children up to 25, by buying one or maximum of 2 properties, be able to get permanent residency. It's a very quick process. The permanent residency permits are approved in 2 months. They are for life, and they do automatically renew, which means that you don't have to reapply any supporting documentation after a certain period of time. The other suspects that are playing in the space are, as you know, Portugal, Spain, Malta, and Greece. Some of them have some innuendos, with the big advantage with Cyprus is not only is it quick, but the entire family gets their residency in 2 months, and you're investing in an English-speaking country. The criteria in terms of investment is 300,000 euros in a new residential property. The definition of new means that it cannot have been transferred yet into somebody's name. So that could be a newly built or an off-plan property, or a property where transfer hasn't taken place for whatever reason. There are finance options, because on this program you only need to pay 2/3 upfront. Balance can be financed. Some of the other aspects are 30,000 euros in a 3-year fixed deposit account. After the 3 years, capital and interest gets credited into the investor's account, and you can move on. You don't ever have to live in Cyprus, but you can, more importantly, rent out your property to earn a euro-based income. So now suddenly this investment that you're doing not only gives you the valuable residency permits, but it earns you a nice euro-based income. The second program, which is of interest to Scott, is that they've got what's known as the Category F, or as I fondly call it, the slow track program. The benefits of this is that not only do the main applicant and spouse qualify, but dependent children up to the age of 18. So they've had that as a limit, unless the kids are still full-time students, but basically it's a similar process to the fast track, but it does limit the age up to the age of 18, unless you can motivate that they are dependent on you fully. The permits on this program, however, are approved in 2 years. So remember, fast track, 2 months, slow track, 2 years, but similar criteria in that they are also for life, and they automatically renew. Big advantage on the criteria here is there's absolutely no minimum property investment amount that you can do. So you can buy a small place for 60,000 euros, a small place for 100,000 euros. You don't ever have to live in Cyprus like on the fast track. But more importantly is that non-married and non-related people can buy together, and each qualify by owning a jointly owned property. So that's a huge bonus, because it doesn't matter what size of property or value, you're guaranteed to get your residency. It just depends on how much you invest. Again, you don't have to live in Cyprus for your residency to remain valid, and you can in fact rent out your property again to earn a euro-based income. Then let's look at the second option on the Plan B in Cyprus, is securing your second citizenship. Once again, Europe has voted this as currently the best second citizenship program available. Like a lot of the other European countries, it's based on you owning real estate, and you do have access to the full number of the European countries on this particular program. Big difference here is that dependent children up to age 28 qualify. So on the fast track route was 25, the slow track route was 18. On the citizenship program, it's up to 28. Plus your parents of the investor do qualify if you spend a bit more money. A huge draw card here on why it's being voted as so popular is that citizenship for the main applicant spouse are approved in 6 months. The fastest program in Europe, and more importantly, it's passed on by descent to future generations. So great-great-grandchildren will be able to qualify to apply for their citizenship because the main investor and spouse have actually been granted it in the initial stages. Criteria here, yeah, it's a big amount of money. You're looking at 2 million euros in residential property. If you're wanting to get involved with commercial, you can do it, but there's a little bit of extra money that needs to be invested. The new change to the ruling is, in addition to the 2 million euros spend, you have to donate 150,000 euros into 2 funds. But big advantage, Scott, and to the people that are watching this tonight, is you don't ever have to live in Cyprus or go back to Cyprus. Again, you can rent out your property, but more importantly, after 5 years, you can disinvest 1.5 million euros of your initial 2 million as long as you retain a single property worth 500,000 euros. So the advantage here is you've got the capital growth, plus you've got your euro-based income that's going to earn you a nice yield, and then you can disinvest 2/3 of that after the 5-year period. So this all in all makes it a very, very attractive program. Some of the benefits, of course, is that you have the same rights as any citizen. You can travel, work, study, play anywhere, including the UK for now. Let's see what happens after Brexit at the end of this month. Visa-free travel to 171 countries in the European Union, no inheritance tax, and of course, you're basically ensuring yourself and your family, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren that are coming in the future against any political instability and, of course, currency collapses that are happening, that are rife around a lot of the countries in the world. So if we go further along, some property examples, you can do whatever you're looking for, whether you're looking for residency, you can get a typical townhouse type development. We've got villa estates a couple of meters away from the Mediterranean Sea. You're looking for that beautiful vanity purchase where you have your outstanding villa, really where the Mediterranean is lapping at the edge of your garden. You want to go more for the commercial side where you've got potential income coming from the offshore gas companies where they're looking to house their engineers, their staff members. You've got apartment blocks in the Riviera of Cyprus, which is known as Limassol. It's a hugely exciting opportunity that's coming there, as well as some of the new blocks that are coming on board where, you're owning a slither of the sky, but these are hugely important because you're buying in really early now before the property prices go in. You want freestanding homes, we've got that. You want places that are on the edge of the hillside that look like you're in Italy, you've got that as well. And as you mentioned earlier, Scott, yes, we do inspection tours where you invite you to come across and have a look-see. I've got a number of tours where I'm going to be in Cyprus with investors, or alternatively, you want to arrange at your own convenient time. We've got that. And part of the tour offering is that we're going to put you up at a stunning 5-star hotel. So all I'm going to need you to do is Scott's going to have my details. Contact me, jump onto the website, cypriotrealty.com, and we'll be able to get all of that in action for you. So that in a nutshell is investing in Cyprus.
Awesome, Jenny. Wow, did you take a breath? You've done this once or twice. No, so just remind me there in terms of, so if I try and summarize it, there were effectively 3 different options upon which people can invest. There's the fast track, the slow track, and then the, I don't know what you call it, the investment track, really, in terms of the breakdown between the 3.
Second citizenship, yeah.
And the minimum amount of money required to invest in Cyprus between the 3 of them would be, which one was arguably the cheapest from an amount of money?
So that would be the slow track program where there's no minimum amount that is specified. So you can buy a property for any amount as long as it's a residential property. And remember, you'll get your residency in 2 years. That's why we call it the slow track. Benefit of that program, Scott, is that non-related individuals can buy a property together. So you can effectively pool your money. You each apply as a main applicant. Next up the run is the fast track. 300,000 euros in property investment will get you your residency in 2 months. And then, of course, you've got the big boy, which is the citizenship through investment, which is the 2 million euros. So no requirements, 300,000 and 2 million.
Sure. Okay, and then just as my own interest, what is a I don't know, a cheap property going for, and what is the starting point for someone, just so that I can help people conceptualize what they would be looking at.
So Scott, typically a one-bedroom apartment in a townhouse complex that's really close to the Mediterranean, starting around about 100,000 euros, 1.7 million rand. That'll get you a nice yield of between 6 and 8% on a holiday let, and between 1.5% and 5% on a long-term tenancy. So we help you with all of that, from looking at finding the tenants, putting it on the market, furnishing it. We've got offices in Cyprus as well as in South Africa. We are South Africans ourselves, so we manage the entire process, hold your hand and do it. Next up the level is two-bedroom apartments in townhouse complexes, typically about between 180 and 250,000 euros, and then your property is right by the edge of the Mediterranean, starting at around about 1.5, 1.8 million. So again, it all depends location, what you're looking at.
Fantastic. And I know these numbers change all the time. I know Gavin's helped, and Stuart and them have helped in the region of well over 400 or 500 South Africans, do their EB5. How many people have you actually helped immigrate in Cyprus? Because I know it's a lot, and obviously get European passports.
Of course, definitely. So if I have a look, Scotty, over the last couple of years, we've definitely are close to the 350 people that we've actually managed to get onto the programs. And we're finding, when you start to own an asset, more and more you go on holiday. I mean, who doesn't want a holiday in the Med? And people are then converting that to go across to live. We've done a number of passport deals in the last couple of years. And again, it's all types of backgrounds, all types of people. South Africa is mainly our focus, as well as Southern Africa. But we are finding quite a lot of interest from a lot of other African countries, because people just want to hedge their bets and have a plan B. And because you don't have to live there, and because this citizenship passes on to future generations, it really makes it quite an attractive, appealing option for those that have got adult children or children going into varsity, to really secure your future, that Europe is your doorstep. So we've helped many South Africans and Africans get into Cyprus.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, there you have it. So you've got an option now for America, you've got an option for Europe, and what I want to do quickly is I just want to run through an option for Australia, and then I want to go into a Q&A basically. So just with regards to Australia, unfortunately our partner couldn't join us. He's in Australia, and it was, like 3 a.m. in the morning or whatever it is. I'm not going to talk about this, I'm not an expert. But effectively, very similar to what Jenny showed you, is that there's two different ways, primarily, that you can get in from an investment structure. Now, the one way to get into Australia is that before the age of 45, you can get in on a points-based visa. What we're talking about now is more of the investment visa. We do have partners that can help you with that whole points-based visa if people want to do that. Below the age of 45, you have to be below 45, and you have to have the right skills. If you are looking to get in on a business visa or an investment visa, there is a way to be able to invest where you're actually investing in a development through a development company. And there's two different ways with two different thresholds where one can look at investing in a business. It's about having a business track record and having a number of assets under management. You can see all the different numbers that are on the screen here, and anyone that is actually interested would be able to get hold of me. But in simple terms, the first one, the subclass 132, you would need about $400,000 in terms of the process, and there are requirements. You've got to be under 55 for 2 out of the last 4 years. You've got to have had a business, etc., etc., etc. And I can share these with people, but you've also got to have personal assets of about $800,000. And then you can see that this is the subclass 1888. And then in simple terms, how the process works is you go for an appointment, you have the consultation, they gather the documentation, they put together a draft agreement, they send the documentation to immigration, there is a waiting period, and then ultimately you get the results. So I'm not an expert in business visas in Australia. I'm not even going to try and be an expert, but if anyone wants me to share the slides with you, I'm happy to do that, and more importantly, to put you in contact with our partners who've been doing it a long time. And then equally, the same partners can actually help people invest and immigrate to New Zealand. And I just thought, with the rugby going on, it would be nice to have a picture of Queenstown in New Zealand. I've actually been here. It's a very beautiful place. Although I have to say, I'm not sure I'd like to live in New Zealand for all the rain. I do refer, and it is out of date, but my book was published in 2014. We did look at a number of the different markets around the world. I think one needs to be very careful, like I mentioned earlier, when you're choosing your partners, make sure that they've got a track record. I'm sure that Jenny and Gavin will back me up here. Everyone promises you that they can help you buy a property and get a passport, but very few people actually have the ability to make it happen. And so often you end up having a bad property with no passport. And I've heard numerous examples of people doing that in different countries around the world. And so be very, very careful that you deal with partners with a good track record. And that's why tonight I'm very proud and very grateful to have the likes of Gavin and Jenny online, who have helped hundreds and hundreds of South Africans, each in their personal right, actually immigrate to the different areas which they recommend. You know, for me, when it comes to, you know, you've often seen this, but a bird flying in a flock can fly 70% further than a bird flying on its own. And, you know, my question is, why would you want to do this on your own? You know, there are people that specialize in it. You know, if you're wanting to go to Europe, Jenny's been doing this. As long as I've known Jenny, that's all she's been doing. The only thing that's changed with Jenny over all the years and her energy and everything else is that she used to live in South Africa and now she actually lives in Cyprus. So she truly is, you know, eating her own breakfast or whatever you want to call it. And, you know, and equally Gavin and Stuart and their team have been doing this for as long as I've known them into America. And, you know, really they can help you, you know, there's that great saying in life, you don't know what you don't know. Well, when you start to want to immigrate overseas, and whether you're moving your money financially or whether you're moving physically, I'll be frank with you, you don't know what you don't know. And that's where people like both of these different partners will hold your hand through the process. In terms of, just to let you know, and I have put the link in the chat box for everyone, we are going to have a set of offshore investor breakfasts. We do find that a huge amount of people in South Africa at the moment are very concerned about where the future of the country is going. And I believe very strongly in giving people the freedom of choice. What I mean by that is the freedom of information so they can make educated and informed decisions. Partners like both Gavin and Jenny, you know, they're on our platform. They'll, you know, they're available, you know, for us to be able to put you in contact. If you do want, just by the way, in the chat box, if you want Cyprus, just type in there Jenny or Cyprus, and we'll put you directly in contact with Jenny. If you want EB5, just type in there EB5. If you want Australia or New Zealand, just type it in, and we'll be able to actually help you with that. These breakfasts for me are, you know, been doing them for, this is how we all know each other, because we've been doing these events for so many years. But what we'll be doing is on the 12th, the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th of November. So the 12th is in Durban, the 13th is in Cape Town, the 14th is in Johannesburg, and the 15th of November is in Pretoria. The first session I'll be running, it'll be a 2-hour session. It'll be the 12 most important things you need to know about investing offshore, how to manage risk, you know, to preserve and grow your capital, how to diversify simply, safely, and without hassle, which country to invest in, how to achieve wealth preservation and plan B and peace of mind, what is the impact of currency on your long-term wealth, how you can get foreign passports and become a global citizen. You know, we've been talking a lot about that tonight. How you can find the right partners and set yourself up for success. What are the best real estate investment sectors? What are the fundamentals and what is the data saying? How you can get started from as little as $1,000. You know, what are the major trends that you need to be aware of? How you can immigrate either financially or physically. How you can get the freedom you want to be able to choose wherever you want to live. And what secrets are the top 1% using that you can actually go out and copy. And there'll be a whole bunch of other things that I'll be sharing, like the 4 secrets to wealth, how you can create portfolio strategy, some of the fees and the impact that they have on your long-term investment. This is where, you know, in these webinars, we've just scratched the top of the iceberg. We'll be going a lot deeper. Then from 10:30 till 12 o'clock, we're actually going to be doing a Q&A session with Hilda Lunderstedt and Garth Wellman. We're going to be looking at the global economy. We're going to be looking at what they're doing, both in the individual rights and what Garth's doing in terms of the wealthiest people he's helping. We're going to be looking at the risks. We're going to be looking at South Africa and what the wealthiest people are doing. We're going to focus on, you know, how do you create a balanced portfolio? You know, I believe this is one of the most important things. What is the right mix of assets? How do you become economically resilient no matter what happens in the global economy? What about tax and structuring? Which are the best tax and structures? You know, if you are looking to immigrate, you know, getting first-hand experience. Hilda's already done it. You know, Gavin and their team has assisted. Jenny has assisted many people. Come and meet people that have actually done it. What planning is needed to actually allow this to happen? What do the experts think about the next decade? How do you get prepared and take advantage of the opportunities? And then what are you going to do to protect against risk? And then we're going to have a special session around Wealth 5.0 and how you can thrive going into the next decade. And then in the lunch period, we're going to be actually running a session where our different partners, both our property partners, hopefully, the partners we've met tonight as well, and we're just confirming who can be at which venues, will actually be there in person where you can meet them, you can meet them one-to-one, you can actually, they can run through what they're doing and how they're doing it. At the end of the day, as much as we love digital and where the world is going, people still want to meet people in face. They want to eyeball them and shake their hands, etc. And this will be the opportunity to meet with the partners directly in terms of the VIP lunch. And that'll be for people that actually do the gold or the platinum tickets. So just quickly, for people that want to do the morning session, that's basically a silver ticket. It includes your breakfast. The gold ticket includes the breakfast, the morning session, and the lunch with the VIP partners. Everyone will be getting access to our eWealth pack, which, just by the way, I don't think Gavin or Jenny have actually seen this, but we put this together a little while ago. It's about $5,000 worth of value. You've got access to my book. You've got access to an investor test, which ultimately helps you create an entire personalized path to wealth. You've got access to a micro degree, which is really going deep into everything you need to know around property investment. You've got a discount on the inner circle. You've got all the different white papers. And then I get asked all the time about reading, and so all the different books that we recommend, both in business, life, psychology, but also in real estate, investment, leadership, sales, biographies, etc. And then we've got a whole lot of life hacks around blog posts, websites, webinars, courses, etc. So anyone that actually comes on the breakfast will get access to that eWealth pack. And then for the people that want to do platinum, we will actually have one-to-one sessions. You can set up a one-to-one session with me. There'll be online sessions. You can, you get to choose between myself, between Hilda or Garth. And if you want to, we can also set up one-to-one sessions with our partners, be that Gavin, be that Jenny, etc. And that will be the platinum ticket, so you get everything included in the gold, plus a one-to-one session with any one of the partners that we've actually mentioned. And then just in terms of the prices, in terms of what you're looking at, these are the prices in terms of it. It is in dollars, and I'm sure Gavin and Jenny will know what I'm talking about here. The mindset of being a global citizen is that you need to think in dollars. If you think in rands, you're not thinking like a global citizen. You're not investing like a global citizen. And in some cases, I tend to joke with people, we also don't have Zim dollars. So everything is in dollars. But what is the good news is that until midnight tomorrow night, there's a 40% discount. So for those early birds that want to participate, I will put the link up. Shane or Lee, if you could put the link up in the chat box. Again, remembering this is the page, so you'll get the page now for the events. This is the page here. It's all about the event, the different speakers, the different schedule, and what we're doing, and the different tickets basically. So it's all here. You can see actually the discounted prices, which are up until midnight tomorrow night. So I will put that in the chat box. So I've sent that to everybody. And and then lastly is the Wealth Weekend. And the Wealth Weekend, as I said to you, is only for our shareholders and VIP guests. There are only 20 spaces available for people that want to participate and be part of the Wealth Weekend and the Wealth Masterclass. For me, this is something so exciting that Hilda and Garth have put together for our top clients. If you're not a shareholder or one of our top investors, as I say, there are 20 places available for people that want to come away on the weekend in terms of that process, and you'll just need to type in there Wealth Weekend. And so without further ado, my question to you is, what are you doing to become a global citizen? Whether you're wanting to immigrate, financially, or whether, both Jenny and Gavin have shown you how you can immigrate financially. Both of them have given you options where you can actually invest into their projects, which actually pay a return. But the benefit is that they also help you immigrate physically if you actually want, in terms of that process. And, for me, that's the question. What are you doing to get ready for 2020? And, it's quite interesting because I know for a fact that, the EB5 program on the 21st of November, as Gavin has already said, goes up in price. I know, Jenny, for yourself, when we spoke about 2 or 3 months ago, Cyprus was also changing. Has it already changed in terms of, because they were also looking to raise the threshold?
Yeah, so basically, Scott, on the citizenship through investment, although they've kept the property investment amount of 2 million, they've added that 150,000 euros that you have to donate to 2 government funds. So it was 2 million, now it's 2,150 million in terms of the investment to get your citizenship. Currently, the residency programs are as is, but I definitely predict that when the natural gas discovery starts being up and running and the plants are there and they're shooting gas across to the European Union, I think they're going to change the requirements in terms of the investment, as well as possibly stipulating that you need to maybe stay in the country for a certain amount of time. So that would actually make a big difference in terms of the pocket as well as the time spent in the country.
Perfect. Okay. So there's lots of people. Thank you, Jenny. There's lots of people that have written here. You know, will we get Jenny's details? Will we get Gavin's details? You know, if you're interested in America, just type in the EB5 or America or Gavin. If you're interested in Jenny, you know, we can put you directly in contact, and in terms of them being able to assist you. You can see that I've got a poll here. So guys, what I want to do is I want to run through the questions. So there's a lot of people here, what they were looking to achieve right up front, people wanting their children to be able to immigrate. What sort of money are we talking about starting off in Australia? So John, I did bring up those slides. Hopefully they came through fairly clearly. If they didn't, reach out to me and I can help you in terms of that process. We'll just type in the Australia and we can come back to you. Gavin, I know that we struggled a little bit with your sound, but anyway, we'll have a recording. I know that just from an internet speed, I had more than 100 megs up and down, so the recording should come through clearly, hopefully. How does tax work once I receive my green card? Will my offshore investments also be taxed? So that, I presume, Gavin, is for you.
Okay, can you just repeat that again, please, Scott?
How does tax work? So once I get my green card, how does tax actually work?
Okay, so I'm not a tax expert, first of all. But first of all, if you get your green card, you obviously got to submit your tax returns in the US. So if you're not earning income, then your tax would be zero, but you just need to submit your return. Obviously, if you're domiciled in South Africa, then you'll just be paying your taxes here. But Garth Wellman is a gentleman that can elaborate further regarding the tax, as he is a tax expert.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you. And I know that you guys know each other as well. Garth is our guest in 2 weeks' time on the webinar, and will also be a live guest at the breakfast, which we're really excited about. So I hear you loud and clear, Gavin. You know, you're not a tax expert. I'm not a tax expert. And that's where, you know, someone like Garth can come in and assist as he assists all his top clients.
Correct. I mean, they actually assist a lot of our clients in terms of the tax aspect. So, you know, if you want to go in further detail, I think it's a great idea to interact with them regarding that.
Perfect. And I've got a poll up for what people want to do next. You know, the more you tell us about what you're thinking, the more we can be more tailor-made to add value to you in terms of the process. John has said 7.5 million needed to get a green card. Yes, John, roughly at the moment, $500,000. Remember that you're not losing that money; it's being invested. But that is the requirement of money, that's needed to be invested. And then from the 21st of November, that money is increasing to $900,000. Want to know how to best apply my hard-earned money globally. Okay, so Francis said he wants to know how to best apply his hard-earned money globally and make it count. The sound is very poor, keeps tipping critical points. Can you keep mentioning? Okay, so yeah, sorry about the sound. As I said, we did record it. What I can also suggest, possibly if Gavin and Jenny are happy, would you guys mind sharing your PowerPoints, which we could just send to people as a PDF, or would that be possible?
Not a problem.
Absolutely, no problem.
Right, so we'll email out to everyone with regards to the things, just in case they didn't see it or hear it. Will I get my money back from an investment, and if so, roughly how much? So John, again, it depends on which country you're talking about. In America and in Cyprus, obviously it was different, but my understanding is that in both situations, you're not actually losing your money. Even on the €2 million investment that Jenny mentioned, you can sell off 1.5 million euros and get back 1.5 million, but you're still keeping $500,000 in real estate. It's not like you're losing the money. And in America, it's the same thing. You're investing in a deal and getting a return. Tell me if I'm wrong, either of you, but I don't think from John's question that he's actually losing money.
No, 100% correct, Scott. In fact, the exact opposite is true. Because of the volatile currency we're sitting at the moment, it makes sense to just hedge your bets a little bit outside of the African environment. And because of the capital growth, the huge demand, your rental income, and of course the effect of depreciation on our South African rand, you actually are going to be enjoying to earn a lot more money. If you do sell off, because if you're going to be buying in the right kind of areas, and as you rightly said earlier, you have a partner holding your hand to give you the right decision, you're definitely going to have a solid and secure investment.
Gavin, from your side?
I mean, from our side, we normally say to our clients, think of it as a rand hedge. You're getting a $500,000 equivalent in rands of your money outside of the country. After 5 years, once you've got your green card, your permanent green card, you'll get your $500,000 back. So, it's, as Jenny said, the volatile rand will always assist with this.
Okay, great. So for Susan, said, I'm in the US. Is this talk today for only outside of the US? So again, Susan, it was looking at ways to be able to immigrate into America, into Europe, into Australia, New Zealand, in terms of that process. Chris has asked, how does the accumulation of 2 years in America work to get citizenship? Over what period does one need to accumulate, and what is the shortest period one can stay that will qualify for accumulation?
Perfect. Okay, Scott. So obviously, once you've been approved your green card, you need to accumulate 2.5 years in the United States. That doesn't mean that you must be in the United States for 2.5 years. From day 1 to 2.5 years. You can fly in and fly out. It just starts ticking your days from the day you have received your permanent green card, if that makes sense. So you can go there for a holiday for 2 weeks, and that's accumulating to your 2.5 years.
Perfect. And I've got the last poll up for anyone, just if we're interested in what people think about the Wealth Weekend and the Wealth Masterclass. So if you are interested, just I'll leave it up there for another 10 seconds or so and then take it down. I acknowledge the sound thing. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about it. I don't know. Is there any way he can email us something? So yes, Ian, John, Renee, we will get these slides through. And just by the way, our partners, I know that Jenny is, they're currently putting Jenny up onto the platform as we speak. American Dream is already on the platform, so you can literally go up now to, let me stop sharing the poll. And if I go here, I know I had it open earlier. So you can actually go to our platform, you go to directory, you go to immigration specialists. I know that the team is putting Jenny up here at the moment. You can literally go in, you can see American Dream. You can go and read all about it, get all their different information, etc., all about the EB5 program, etc. So it's all here. You can see all about it. So everything that they're sharing tonight is actually up there, and we can certainly put you in contact. Our whole idea is to link people with the right partners, and it's exactly the same with Jenny and her team. And I know that her and Lee are working hard to get them up there on the platform quick as well. Okay. Desmond says, do you have to give up your citizenship if you get a Cypriot passport or Cyprus citizenship?
No, you don't. So, Scott, they do allow dual citizenship. Just the ruling in South Africa is that, of course, you, as a good, honourable South African citizen, you do need to let Home Affairs know. And, of course, they will then give you approval. Just a quick sidebar on that comment is that Cyprus also has a natural
I'm not sure if we lost you there.
program where should you live in the country for 5 consecutive So basically, you are entitled to get citizenships, and you don't have to forego your other one.
Thank you. Jan's asked, with PR, one still only have an SA passport. I don't know if anyone else knows what that question means. Does this mean you need to go back to SA every time?
No. So in Cyprus, your permanent residency is your legal right to live in the country. Part of the program's requirement is that you visit Cyprus 1 day every second year for your residency to remain valid, but you will still be traveling on a South African passport because you have not achieved citizenship status yet. So PR is permanent residency.
Right. Thank you, Jenny. There are lots of people that want your details, Gavin. There's lots that want your details, Jenny. So we'll put all you guys in contact. Missy's asked, what negative impact can Brexit have on a person who wants to immigrate to Europe?
Perhaps I can answer that as well, Scott. I'll take the chalice. So the jury's out about what's going to be happening with Brexit, but the feeling seems to be that once Brexit happens, British citizens will be seen exactly the same as us mere mortals with our green mamba passports. So if they want to go and live and work in Europe, they're going to have to apply for residency as well as for a work permit. They'll probably be allowed to go and travel in the European and the Schengen area because they'll be given like a Schengen travel visa. So basically 3 months out of every 6, but they will be seen as the likes of you and I, where we have to go across and apply for a work and a residential permit to be able to go and live and work any country in the European Union. For now, let's see what happens with Brexit, but that seems to be the standing that the jury's that they're saying at the moment.
Yep. It's an interesting one. I saw a joke recently where it was like, welcome to the United Nation of Nations, and it was like intergalactic, countries. All countries around the world are included, except for Britain that is still trying to leave Europe or something. That was quite classic. Livingston says, want to be taken through a journey to become a global citizen. So Livingston, this webinar series is the beginning of that, and the breakfast, I would highly recommend coming along and being part of the energy and meeting people face to face. Remember, proximity is power, and obviously on the screen you've got the different ways to be able to do that. Basically, Francois has asked how to know how to apply, how to earn money. Very similar to what I just discussed. Pat said, "Is this recorded? Will it be uploaded to YouTube?" Yes, and the link, just like the last webinar. Does Canada have a system? Andrew, yes, they do have a system. And we do have partners that are interested in Canada, so if you're interested, we can put you in contact. Martin has said, currently making my small savings grow 400% a year in cryptocurrency trading until reaching a high enough level to invest in real estate. Perfect, Martin. Many people do it in different ways. As I think you're on the right track. I think the most important thing is diversification and protecting your wealth as much as creating it as well. Andrew said, where do I find out about the 1,000 investment options? Remember, Andrew, on the first Wednesday of every month, we call it WealthE Wednesday. So the first Wednesday of every month, we drop the minimum investments down, and you can actually invest on $4,000 in any of the deals. Lee said, I joined the WealthE a few months ago. Okay, so what I'd suggest, Lee Briscoe, I'll ask Lee Honeysett to get hold of you directly, because there's clearly a problem with the system, and we need to make sure that you are part of that system. Which country is the best to have tax residency? I'm not going to chuck Jenny or Gavin under the bus, or myself here, because none of us are tax experts. I do think Gavin answered it really well when he said, Garth Wellman is coming on in 2 weeks and going to be at the breakfasts. I don't know if either of you want to say anything else, but I do think that tax becomes a very personalized thing, and it's very different for each different person, which is why people like Garth become so important.
I fully agree with you, Scott.
Okay, Theodore said, sorry, will the Pretoria presentation breakfast be also at 7 to 8? So it starts at 8, and it's a morning presentation. So it's actually from 8 until 12. We just find that, to bring the different partners together, it's so valuable to get everyone in the room. There's no point in rushing it, basically. So sound and connection is really rubbish. Sorry about that, Lorraine. Okay, we do have the recording, and I'm sure the recording will be fine, and/or we've got the live events. Martin, does Cyprus allow double citizenship with other EU countries, and would there be any interest in that? Would tax residency there not just be enough for any EU citizen?
So yes, Cyprus does allow multiple citizenship. There's no concern. But if you really have a European passport, then as an EU citizen, you have the legal right to come across and live and work as if you were separate yourself. So there's no necessity to forego any of your citizenship status. Of course, that is the big advantage, is that being a European citizen means you have the whole of the European Union as your playground to do what you like, including your kids. So that's a big advantage.
Fantastic. So lots more people asking for you guys' details, so we'll send it all through. Does New Zealand have an investment system? I'll be frank with you, Francois, I don't actually know. But again, I can put you in contact with people that specialize in that. Again, we believe that we specialize in finding the right partners. I'm not an expert on immigrating all over the world, but what I do believe we're good at is finding people that you can trust if you want to go to Europe, if you want to go to America, Australia, New Zealand, etc. Will the breakfast slides and notes be available? Yes, so the breakfast slides will be, and we've also said that tonight we'll make sure that the slides we'll send out an email for everyone in terms of the detail, in terms of where we're at. So I think from our side, that is all the questions. I want to finish off with a bit of a conclusion here. And if there's any more questions, fire them through. I'm conscious of the time. What is the time there? We are coming up, to the half hour. I just want to remind everyone that the purpose of this webinar is freedom of choice. At the end of the day, I'm really, really grateful to Gavin and to Jenny for being online. What they've shared with you in a short amount of time, it might feel like they've shared with you something in 10 minutes, but I wanted to share a story with you, and it's a story of a painter, and he's in St. Mark's Square in Venice. And it's really interesting because this American couple comes along and they see the painter painting, and he literally paints a picture in 20 minutes. And they go up to the lady loves the picture, and she goes up to the painter and says, "Wow, it's such an amazing picture. How much does the picture cost?" And the painter said, "Well, it cost $20,000. They're like, "What? We just sat here and watched you paint this picture in 20 minutes." And he said, "Well, you're not paying me for the 20 minutes it took to paint the picture. You're paying me for the 20 years it took me to know how to paint the picture in 20 minutes." And so don't be flawed, or don't be tricked by tonight, how easy it might sound, and what Gavin has shared with you, and what Jenny has shared with you, because they've spent decades of their life going deep into the space and actually helping people be able to financially immigrate, both physically and financially. And that's why this webinar is all around freedom of choice. For us, what we really are deeply passionate about, our manifesto and our social promise, is imagining a world where most people, or all people, are literate, a world where education is part of the course, a world where women are treated as equals, a world where all people have access to investment opportunities. Imagine a world where 6 billion people on the planet that currently live in poverty can live a better life. Imagine that world. And at the World Movement, we're aiming to create that world. And I really just want to encourage you all with that social promise, because whether you want to live in South Africa, whether you want to live in America or Bulgaria or Zimbabwe or the many other countries that we've had on tonight, or you want to immigrate to America, or you want to immigrate to Cyprus or Europe or anywhere else, we don't really care. But what we do care about is that we all work to create a better and more sustainable planet. And what we also care about is that you have the freedom of choice. And that's why we wanted to bring these partners tonight to share with you. For those of you who will be coming to the breakfast, we do sponsor a young boy. His name is Bongi. We met him 3 years ago. He's the most amazing kid. His mom is a police lady. His dad is a security guard. He had a dream to go to a private school. We've been crowdfunding him through a private school. He's actually the captain of Southwestern District's hockey. He's doing really well in school. He ultimately wants to be a mechanical engineer, and there's a very good chance that he could be the next Elon Musk. And I really think that each and every one of us that is attending the breakfast will be taking a step forward in terms of not only helping yourself and meeting partners like this and taking measurable steps towards creating the life you want, but you'll also be making a meaningful difference on the planet. And so that's all from my side. I want to just see here if anyone has any other questions. Can you please send the details? Yes, yes, yes. Deanne, please can you expect the expected end time of the Platinum Gold on the 14th of November? Has a plane to catch early evening? No, so on the 14th, so they are morning events, and if you come to the lunch, it will be finished by 1:30, 2 o'clock at the absolute latest. So if you have a plane to catch early evening, you'll be completely fine, Deanne, in terms of that process, in terms of where we're at. So if you want to come to the breakfast, you've got the link there. Go to wealthmigrate.online/wealth5. This is the website that ultimately you'll be going to here. And literally, you've got all the details about the events, all our different partners, and you can literally go online and invest online. Gavin, closing thoughts from your side in terms of what I'd like to know from you specifically is that I've watched the emotional relief from people when you've actually helped them go through the process. Can you give us a little bit of an indication of what it's like for someone when they've set themselves a dream and then you guys have actually held their hand and helped them through the process, whether it's a Hilden or Martin or one of the other couple of hundred people that have actually ultimately immigrated to America?
Talking about that, Scott, I think the most important thing is we're always holding their hand throughout the whole process. So by having us here full time, in Johannesburg, Cape Town, and Durban, we're all over. So we're building a relationship with you ultimately. And, most customers or call clients, when they initially do the process, they keeping it as a plan B. But coming up to when they get approved, their mindset is already in the US. So they actually just ultimately just want to, sadly to say, but they actually want to leave South Africa because, their life for their kids are greater offshore. And whether or not it's in South Africa or not, there's a plan B for them. So it gives them the opportunity to be a global citizen. And you can just see the relief of a client by having their plan B. It's being a global citizen is probably the way to go. There's options all over, whether it's for yourself or your children. I think that's the main motivation for our clients, is for the younger generations.
Well, that's a great lead-in because it's almost like it was choreographed. Jenny, I was going to talk to you because I've met a number of clients that have come through you, and specifically they want to go, to Cyprus, get into Europe for their children. Talk to us a little bit around some of your experiences for that, because a lot of people decide to immigrate, decide to get, first world passports, primarily to give their children the better step in life. And what's been your experience with that?
Yeah, Scott, the sad reality is that some of our institutions in South Africa are failing the youth. And when you're facing a customer who becomes a client and then a good friend, where they've got children who are in the standard 8s, 9s, and matrics, who are looking to expand and to study overseas, the very important factor is how good is the quality of education. And more importantly, once our child agree, what can that child do to themselves? We have a number of cases potentially specifically Afrikaans speaking or Indians, colored couples as well, whose children are now opting to study in Cyprus because the universities are Euro accredited. They are all taught in English, once they've actually gone through their curriculum and they've got their degrees, they actually can do something meaningful with it. And there seems to be a bigger set of hope that once they've got that valuable piece of paper in a frame, that they can take that degree and do a lot more than the possibilities are here in South Africa. So it's a very sad environment of what's happening in our country, that people are seeking offshore options. The other opportunity as well is those that are looking for work possibilities. With the natural gas in Cyprus, there's a lot of people that have got that hands-on experience where these companies, the ENIs, the Totals, the BPs, are going to have platforms and the natural gas, and they're going to need skilled staff. So don't only see it as but there's a real reality that this could potentially be your new choice of home, your new lifestyle, where you're bringing a family and seeing your great and grandchildren running across the Mediterranean beaches. So this is what we're seeing as people's initial sessions of changing. Not anything for themselves, but we're seeing a bigger need for the kids. What are my kids going to do now?
Perfect. Well, listen, thank you very much to both of you for being online tonight. There's been loads of questions, so thanks for answering them. Thanks to all the community members. We've had a couple of hundred of you from all over the world asking questions, so really appreciate all the energy. It's fantastic to have all of you online. Martin asked about Portugal. We didn't have Portugal tonight. I can, if someone is interested in Portugal, I can put you in contact with someone in terms of Portugal. But I really just want to thank you, Gavin, for your time. It's always an honor and privilege to work with you guys. As I said, you've helped a number of our clients who are happy clients. Jenny, equally to your side, it's a huge honor and privilege, as always, to work with you. And you've helped many, many people I know, get their European passports. So thanks to both of you for doing what you're doing and providing people with the freedom to make the decisions that they want to be able to do. And to Lee, thank you for organizing tonight. Really, really appreciate it. And to everyone on the community, thank you for being part of it. It's wonderful to have you on this journey. If you think they're adding value, please make sure that you share it with your friends. Next week, we've got Hilda. The week after that, we've got Garth. If people miss this, we will have a recording that people can go back and listen to. If they missed last week, go back and have a recording. I, most importantly, want to provide people with options. I want to be able to empower them so that they have the freedom of choice to make the right decisions. So thank you, Gavin. Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Lee. Thank you to all of you for being online tonight. I think that is everything from our side of the fence.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.